Yeah, I believed that once. And let me tell you, that belief cost me a whole lot of money and my dignity. It all started when I got my property tax bill. I looked at my savings, then back at the bill, and watched my money vanish faster than snow in July. So, in a burst of pure Canadian optimism, probably fueled by a little too much Tim Hortons, I decided I was going to save a fortune by renovating my basement myself. I mean, how hard could it be? Right, my first mistake was binging DIY YouTube videos. You know the ones. The hosts are always smiling, making perfectly smooth cuts, applying flawless coats of paint, and there's absolutely zero panic in their eyes. They make it look so easy. So I thought, hey, I can do that. I started with what seemed like the simplest task, removing the old carpet. 15 minutes in, I was on the floor, tangled up in the thing like a moose caught in Christmas lights. It was a wrestling match I was definitely losing. But I'm no quitter. I thought, what would the pros do? They'd use big tools. So, I grabbed a sledgehammer. Going after the old drywall with that sledgehammer felt powerful. The first swing, awesome. The second, even better. I was channeling my inner home renovation superhero. And then came the third swing. That's when I hit a water pipe. Water exploded out of the wall like I just struck oil in my own basement. Within seconds, my project had turned into a small, very unwelcome indoor lake. I let out a scream that was, let's just say, extremely un-Canadian, and started frantically scooping water with a bucket, feeling like a character in the final scenes of the Titanic. Just then, my neighbor Dave, the guy who snowblows half the block just to feel useful, came running over. He took one look at the gushing wall, the rising water, and me flailing with a bucket. He took a long, slow sip of his double-double and said, with all the urgency of a sleeping bear, "Yup, that's a pipe, eh? Thanks, Dave. Super helpful." After a panicked call to an emergency plumber who, by the way, charged me more than the GDP of a small island nation, I decided to pivot. Plumbing was clearly not my calling. I'd switched to painting. Nice and safe, right? No pipes involved. I spent hours, and I mean hours, carefully taping every single edge. I laid down drop cloths. I was feeling like a real craftsman. I opened the can of paint, a lovely color called Arctic Mist, and got to work. I was rolling it on, admiring my steady hand, feeling proud of myself. Then I stepped back to admire my masterpiece. And that's when I realized it was the wrong shade. My girlfriend walked in, took one look at the walls, and asked, "Why is our basement baby blue?" Apparently, in my haste, I'd grabbed the wrong paint can. Twice. My sophisticated Arctic Mist was actually toddler's first sky. The basement looked like a nursery for a giant baby. By day 3, I was running purely on frustration and Timbits. I decided to try installing some new shelves. Surely, I could handle that. I measured, I leveled, I drilled. But when I put them up, they were so uneven that anything I placed on them immediately slid right off, like it was on a tiny ski slope. At this point, I was desperate. I thought, okay, maybe I'll just hang some art to distract from the disaster. I grabbed my drill for what I prayed was the last time. I found a nice, clear spot on the wall, and drilled the first hole, straight into another pipe. I didn't even know there was plumbing in that wall. I swear, my house was built by pranksters. So now my basement was part swimming pool, part kindergarten classroom, and part hazardous construction zone. Dave stopped by again, but this time he brought his wife, I think just so they could both have a good laugh at my expense. That was it. I admitted defeat. I waved the white flag. I called a contractor. The guy walked in, took a slow look around at the blue, watery, crooked mess, and said, "Did a beaver try to remodel this place?" That was the moment I knew I was done. I'd spent 3 days, $1,000, and every last ounce of my dignity. The contractor and his team fixed everything in half a day. Half a day. I just sat upstairs, sipping my coffee and seriously questioning my life choices. Now, every time I walk into my perfectly finished, professionally renovated basement, I don't see the nice walls or the smooth, correctly colored paint. I see the ghost of my DIY dreams, and a copy of the plumber's receipt that still haunts my nightmares. So yeah, I didn't save any money. Not a single cent. But I did get a pretty great story out of it, and an unplanned indoor swimming pool, completely free of charge. The moral of the story: sometimes, do-it-yourself should really mean, do yourself a favor and hire a professional. Thanks for listening to my tale of woe. If you've ever had a DIY disaster, share it in the comments below so I can feel a little less alone. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss my next adventure. See you next time.